I was intrigued because I was reading the article that you featured in the Irish Times, and it said that you knew early on you didn't want to be a football player. Why was that?
Hit a ceiling athletically and technically that I just wasn't past, and but yeah, I still had a big knowledge of the game, but
Mm-hmm.
just when I was sort of 16, 17, I was faster than everybody, and then at the higher level, it just wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I kind of had this. I wanted to be around that level though, you know. So I was like, okay, if I can't be around it as a player, what's the next step?
Yeah.
So, and then I kind of naturally sort of fell into coaching and kind of haven't really looked back.
After each summer, and that was where you completed your degree at university, Ulster, Jordanstown there. And I think that's probably when our paths crossed then when you had enjoyed some work with myself at TW Sports. And that was quite early on when we were beginning as well.
Yeah, yeah. Again, I was sort of trying to think how I found. I think my mum like found a flyer or something at TW Sports and was like, "Hey, why don't you give this guy a call and see if he needs some work?" Because I think I just called you and was like, "Listen, this is sort of my experience, and I think it can help you run some stuff." And
Yeah, yeah.
then all of a sudden, you had me running around North Down, Antrim, Armagh. You had putting on the mileage, but running centres for you, all over the place. And again, Tim, I've thought back a lot, and I've followed the growth of yourself and the company really since those days. And you're right, you were a fledgling company, and you were the there's a lot of Northern Ireland to love, and then there's a lot of Northern Ireland which just really really bugs me. And part of it is sometimes, and I guess this is something that can be said around the world, but sometimes people just don't like change, and
Mm,
football in Northern Ireland, especially youth football, was very very stale then,
mm.
and the Irish FA kind of ran ran a lot of things, but they didn't really let anybody else in, and you were trying to establish yourself, and it's not that you were trying to be direct competition. You were just trying to give people choice,
Yeah, yeah.
and uh, I'm glad I was able to kind of just give you some ideas of what I'd learned,
Mm-hmm.
and for you to apply them. And I think um, it's great to see where TW Sports has gone, sort of since those early 2000s when it was me driving up to your house to pick up balls and throw them into the back of my Ford Fiesta.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, it was a real exciting time because that was sort of the first stage where we were starting to bring coaches on board. It went from me running around and maybe running 3, 4 centres to, I think at that point we maybe had as many as 20 centres operating. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of hard work, as you quite rightly say. We were sort of swimming upstream. You're quite 100% right that people in this country don't like change, whether that be from a political point of view, or whether that even be from a sporting point of view. And there was things that we're trying to embrace, and us coming together and having the brainstorm meetings, like what can we do different. And it sounds crazy to think about it to this day, but when we first launched our mini soccer program, we were unique because we were taking kids as young as 5 at the start. And then that was when we had those brainstorming meetings about saying, well, what about, toddler soccer? Can we bring it, younger? And seeing the little brothers and sisters not understand why they couldn't play football at 5 when every other club and organisation, and probably including the Irish FA at that stage, I think the youngest remit was about 7, 8 years of age, So for us then to go and take the Born module and rip it up and say, right, we're taking kids from the age of 2. The abuse that we got in those early days was crazy. And
yeah, yeah.
when you think that now a lot of people, sometimes you've got to innovate, and when you're innovating and changing things that people don't like and feel uncomfortable with, you're going to take dog's abuse about it. But being thick-skinned and innovating and always taking the program forward, it hopefully brings change in a positive environment right across the board. And that's been something that we've seen that has definitely improved, because at the end of the day, all we're trying to do is make football in this country a better product. And if we're doing our little bit at the grassroots level that maybe helps, the journey for those kids stepping on and going into the professional game or the semi-professional game, well, then that can only be a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you stuck with it, and programs have grown. So
Yeah,
yeah,
16 years later, still going.
yeah, you can send me the royalty check from the toddler soccer stuff, so I'm sure it got lost in the mail. So
And then tell us then, because then after working with ourselves, oh, there's one brilliant story I need to say. I remember you down at Eddie Irvine Sports Centre in your hometown of Bangor, and you're on the pitch and you're in the zone doing a few keepy ups, juggling the ball up. And I don't know, you just had this vision in your head, you're going to flick it up and volley it at the goal at the other end. Unbeknown to you, there was a 6-year-old kid right in front of you about 10 yards away.
oh no.
As you caught that ball sweet as anything in the volley,
Yeah.
it volleyed this kid in the face, put him up in the air, handed straight down. Now, we were all trying to keep our professional selves by making sure the kid was okay, but looking back on it now, it's the most comical thing. It was like, it was your reaction after it happened.
I know, and I was because I remember that, and I was like thinking, God, did he sign a waiver? Are we okay here? Am I going to get sued? Like, what's going on? I was like, why did I do that? Like, I'm not Mark
Oh,
Hughes, you know. So yeah,
brilliant. Of all the great things that you've done with TW Sports, that's one of the things that
I'm
sticks
glad
always in
that's a
my head.
highlight. Yeah,
Anybody listening to the show, yeah, the kid did get back up. He wasn't concussed. He
he
was
was
fine,
good.
you
Yeah,
know.
he
But
was good. Yeah.
but then after that, you went on to work with the Irish FA.
Yeah. I was actually I was working in America. I had a full-time gig with Soccer Academy, but the the Irish FA they created this program in conjunction with the GAA and the education board, where it was like the schools coordinators positions,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw it as an opportunity to work for the governing body. It was highly subsidized by the government, but the whole idea of the program was, I think there was initially like 30 people from the Irish FA and 30 GAA officers, and we were to go into primary schools and use association football and GAA as a vehicle to promote what they kind of came up with the term physical literacy amongst primary school kids. With, again, a lot of primary schools in Northern Ireland and other parts of the UK, don't have a certified like PE teacher, so to speak. So
Mm-hmm.
we would come in during curriculum time and deliver this program. And I got to work with Lee Carroll was in charge of the program. He's since moved on from the Irish FA, but Lee, again, I kind of like sort of similar to what I interviewed for the job and got it, and then sort of found myself similar with you, Tim. I was sat with Lee quite a lot, many a time, and kind of helped because the program is brand new.
Mm-hmm.
And there were other really good. Kieran Donaghy, who's still who I actually went to school with. He got a job there too, and he was like playing for Cliftonville at the time. He got a full-time job. His dad's obviously Mal Donaghy, so he'd been very familiar with the Irish FA setup. Another guy, Sean Ward, played for Glentoran for a long time. But we were all young guys, really keen out of university, a lot of knowledge, and we were able to kind of sit down and mold this program that was then delivered to essentially, because of the spread, we were in nearly every primary school in Northern Ireland at some point in the academic year, and I loved it.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. And then that was then starting to bring your journey back across the Atlantic. You got an opportunity at Georgetown University then?
Yeah, I always wanted to work in the college game when I got over here. The youth soccer is a beast over here. A lot of people, that's their full-time job, and it pays well. So to kind of give you an idea, uh, you know, you can take like a youth girls team or boys team, doesn't matter, and the parents will pay you upwards of like 20,000 US dollars to take a youth team for for the year, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, uh, and I couldn't get over that. This sort of pay to play idea. but then you were getting a professional coach to work with your team. But for me, I was just like, well, this is insane. And I just wanted a bit more stability in a university setting, and I wanted to kind of see if I could compete at the higher level. So yeah, but again, it's not what you know, so you know. So I'd been applying for jobs, and at that point, I think I had my USSF B license. I was working towards my A. So I had a UEFA B and a US the equivalent in US soccer, and but couldn't get a job. I was applying for all these college jobs, couldn't get anything, and I'd met through the youth game. I'd met a guy called Dave Nolan, who was the head coach at Georgetown, and sort of said, "Hey, Dave, like, what? I'm applying for these jobs. Why am I not getting them?" And he's like, "Because you got to go and you got to volunteer your time. And once you volunteer your time, someone will vouch for you, and then everything else kind of lines up." He says, "Because there's so many people apply for these jobs, and but if you volunteer, you get an idea for what the gig's like." So that's what I did. I volunteered with him, and Georgetown, he built a very successful program on the women's side of Georgetown. The men's team is very competitive as well. They're one of the best in the country, right there in DC. And but I did it for free. So I was coaching. I was doing all the youth soccer stuff during the day, and then I was running the training at night, running the games at Georgetown between my own club games. And trying to balance all that out. But on the back of that, then I got my first full-time assistant coaching gig at Loyola. We have this concept of university athletics in Europe and the UK, and it's vastly different in America. It's as professional as you can get, to kind of give you an idea here at NC State where I'm at now. We probably have a budget for our women's team alone of just under about $240,000 a year, and where that money goes on is goes on our obviously like our equipment, or like what the players get. We're sponsored by Adidas, and so all that stuff that they get there, it goes on our travel. We travel. Our games aren't just local. In state, we travel to Florida. We travel to our conference. We play the length and breadth of the country essentially. So the budget goes to that. It goes a big part of the budget goes to recruiting. So me and the other coaches fly again all over America. We fly internationally to watch players play, and then offer them scholarships to come play. So we will go to youth games and watch a kid when she's like 16, and then when she's eligible, we'll get her to, if she's good enough, to come, to try to convince her to come play for us. So
I mean, that's really interesting. Was anybody listening to this that's especially in Northern Ireland, I don't think they understand how vast it is in America. I mean, I've been fortunate to coach out there, doing summer camps, elite clinics and stuff over 5 years. And I remember on a couple of occasions, says we like to come and watch a game. It's a home game. I says, yeah, no worries at all. So our day off, I'm thinking home game, about 20 minutes travel. No, it was about 2 hours. I'm thinking this is a home game and we're on the road for 2 hours.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's just so vast. And when you're going in to watch potential new players and scout them, what is it that you're looking for, the attributes?
Well, again, I'm very fortunate that the school I'm at, NC State, the conference we play in is the ACC, and it is the premier conference. It's kind of like the Premier League of women's soccer in America. So it's a very elite level of player that we're looking for, and so typically it's like players that already are in a national, like have been in a national pool at some point in their career. There's an athletic side to sports in America. I've seen and coached a lot of very talented players from the UK and Europe who are very technical, but they're not as athletic as some of the homegrown American talent. When I mean athletic, I just mean like pure pace, being able to run people down, strength on and off the ball that is just sort of like a natural gift that some of these athletes have, you know. So yeah, we're kind of looking for that athletic piece, but again, being in our conference, being the top in the country, that you can't just get away with that. You gotta look for technical kids. So again, the majority of players that either we have or come up against are either in a national pool, typically the US national pool, or you know we've recruited heavily from Europe. So we've a number of players that essentially, if they grew up in the Bayern Munich system, and then if they didn't make it at Bayern and didn't get offered a full-time contract, we've been able to get them to come to us, and kind of balance getting a degree with playing at the highest level possible. So it's worked out pretty well so far. So yeah, that's kind of what we look for. But and we have a very certain style that we play, and not every player fits into that mold. So my head coach Tim is very particular then about whether a player can fit into our system. So that's when we're recruiting, we're kind of looking at that element too.
You know, comparing USA, the UK, and Ireland, what's things that you think you really like? What's things that you maybe miss? The difference? I mean, there's a lot of differences. Obviously, we've spoke about one of them in terms of the investment in the States, and that's both from club, college, and obviously parent. They're investing in their children, and from a financial point of view, it's seen as a career over there. Whereas here, people make you feel guilty if you're being working out, because the dog's abuse I've got over the years, you shouldn't be charging football, blah, 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 blah. And I think you've already touched on as well as the volunteering aspect. I mean, I give 10 years of my life to, if you like, earn my degree and learn my trade in football coaching, where I did it voluntary. And I mean, I remember at the Story running their 18s and planning, delivering, analysing sessions, games, and giving Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and so much. And you're maybe giving a token of £10 per week, you know. But that is where I got my degree. That was where I invested the time to help be the person I am today. That's pretty big frustration I have now in young coaches now. They sort of want everything now, and they sort of turn their nose up that I don't want to do that. It's all about, you know, quick fix, instead of thinking, no, this is where you learn the game and get work under great mentors. And that's always been something I've been fortunate with, the mentors that I've had in my life.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I've sort of seen it with some younger coaches who've asked me, well, what's your journey been, and can you get me into university soccer and this other thing? I'm like going, you can get yourself into it, you know, if you're. I can certainly try, but yeah, if they're not willing to do it, and it's an issue here that's sort of ongoing. As you say, there's a lot of people that are now former players, and they're kind of expecting to get some of these jobs straight out of playing, and they want, but they don't know what they don't know. So it's like going, well, tell you what, you had one of your former guests on as well on a previous podcast that said, I think it speaks volumes for a coach if you can go and not only work with elite players at the highest level, but also go and work with 3 and 4 year olds, and you don't turn your nose up at that. And at some point in your career, I feel like you need to do all that, so you have a full understanding of what it takes. And it's not a case of sort of earning your salt. I think it's a case of sort of understanding where, like an understanding of how the youth game works, and then when you understand how to run some of these programs, then you can maybe get good people in to help you if you find yourself in that situation, or find a niche that you hurt yourself into. You know, my niche was women's football, and I kind of got in there and have continued to grow. But my son's 5 now, so I'm back doing, you know, toddler soccer again with him, and it's bringing me back to the days where I was running around leisure centres in Northern Ireland for you. So yeah.
I know somebody's got a good book out about that.
Yeah. Again, I'm the royalty checks. Did it go? Did you send it to Bangor? Is that where it is?
Yeah. You're going to be mentioning stuff in the front cover, huh?
Okay. Very good.
There's a couple of funny stories I've got down here in a bullet point that you
Yeah.
tell us the first one about Chelsea.
Yeah, that was I got the opportunity to I was out working camps at UCLA back in I think it was 2007. And Mourinho, it was Mourinho's second stint at Chelsea, and he fell in love with LA, so he brought he used to bring that Chelsea team out to train at UCLA every summer. When he did it for 2 or 3 summers when he was there, and that was the summer that Beckham had signed for LA Galaxy. So Chelsea were lined up to play LA Galaxy, but me and a very good friend of mine from London, lifelong Chelsea fan from before the money. He it was fate. We were working at UCLA where they were training, so we used to get into training every day to watch that Mourinho Chelsea team. And that was a good team. That was like Drogba in his heyday. Obviously Lampard, Terry was in that team. Ian Robin, Czech was the goalkeeper. Makaleli was in that. It was a who's who, of talent. And we were smoking and joking with them on the sideline where they were for 2 weeks, to the point where I used to get bored. I'd rather go sleep in the afternoon because it was hot than go watch a Mourinho training session, right? Whereas people would be want the same, but the funny story about it was we were the security guards used to know it because they had security all set up. There were people that Chelsea knew who Chelsea were, and but we were able to get in, and the security guards knew us because we'd wear our UCLA gear, and they just thought we were part of the furniture, so we would come and go, right? So there's this guy, and he's standing down at the gate, and he goes, I used to play for the club. I have an interview with Chelsea FC, and he's like on the phone, and he's trying to he says, can you please? And of course, my mate, lifelong Chelsea fan, looks at him and goes, "That's Frank Leboeuf." And he goes, we go down to Frank Leboeuf and go, "Frank's with us." So he goes, "Oh, thanks, guys." And Frank's now walking. Frank Leboeuf, World Cup winner, is walking up with us, right? And he's going, I couldn't get in. And it turns out he lived in LA and stuff. So and Chelsea TV were there, and they did it. And then he sat again because he thought we were somebody important. So he sat with us for the entire training session, and he was just like, "Sean Wright-Phillips, he's finished." He was just like critiquing all the players, and it was kind of funny to listen to that.
I love the way you try to put on a French accent there as well.
Yeah. So United, this was like 2014. There was a big buzz because Van Gaal just taken over, and they went on a tour to America, and they were playing at, they weren't playing DC United. I think they were playing Inter Milan, but at DC United, so in DC. And there's only like 2 really good grass pitches in DC, Premiership standard. One's at Georgetown, and the other one was at another university called American University. And I had connections, obviously, at both schools. They weren't training at Georgetown. Actually, it was funny. United had offered them because the Georgetown staff were like, "No, we need to prepare our pitch for our season." And United were like, "Well, we'll give you." I think they offered them 200 grand for 3 or 4 days, and Georgetown went, "No, it's okay," because Georgetown have like an endowment of 50 million, like something ridiculous. So 200 grand's a drop in the bucket to them. So they just went, "No, it's okay. We don't need the money." And turned United down. American University did take the offer, so they were there. So anyway, I call my mate, who was the assistant coach on the men's side at the time, and I said, "I'm sure you're being bombarded with people wanting to watch United train at American. Do you think you can get me in?" And he actually said, you're the first person to call Steve. Nobody's been calling me. So I was like, going, all right, well, can you get me? And he goes, yeah, of course. So I go there. No, sorry, they end up flying in a day early. So they fly in on the Sunday night, and my mate Ben goes, they're getting in early. I have to open the gates for them and open the locker rooms and open the pitch and get the water out because we don't have any staff working on a Sunday night from Man United. So because they're all here on Monday. So he says, if you want to come tonight, come and help me. So yeah, like we're bringing out water for them and unlocking the change rooms and I know you're a lifelong United fan like myself. What's very cool about the club is they have even though the coaching staff changed, the backroom staff sort of stay the same. So the masseuses and the doctors and the security guys and the equipment guys, they are all kind of, doesn't matter who the coaching staff are, they're all sort of like a core group of people, right? So they're all there kind of helping set up. Van Gaal hasn't come out yet. Giggs was his assistant coach at the time, and you know me, I was like massive Giggs fan. So, and I'd never met Ryan Giggs, so I was sort of couldn't wait to meet Giggs. It's all I wanted to do is meet Giggs, right? And all the support staff basically sort of said, listen, this new guy Van Gaal's like kind of crazy. We're like, we don't know. He says he could see you two, even though you helped open like that you work here at the university, which I didn't. I was blagging it, like, but he was like, he could still tell you guys to leave. We don't know. He goes, sometimes he tells us to leave, and we're part of his staff, but we're not his coaching staff. So he clocks us. Van Gaal clocked us immediately when he walked onto the pitch, but didn't say anything. So I think to ourselves, we're okay. We're watching training. All of a sudden, like this older man walks up. And I'm sorry, the listeners, the story's a little bit long, but it's still pretty cool. This older guy walks up, and again, this is a random Sunday night in Washington DC, and he's awkwardly wearing this Man United top. And I look closely and I go, that's Joel Glazier, right? And Joel Glazier, again, walks up to my friend, me and Ben, and is like, I'm Joel Glazier. And I'm like shaking the guy's hand going, yeah, no, who you are. Like, again, we introduce ourselves. And he was a very polite guy. For all the things I used to like hate about the Glaziers, here's one standing in front of me. The owner of the club I've supported all my life. And when he found out I worked in women's soccer and worked for a local club, he had his two daughters, and he was so the owner of Manchester United was asking my opinion on what club his daughters should join to play youth soccer. And I'm like, well, Mr. Glazier, if you want me and Ben here, if you want to give us a bit of money, we'll set up our own club. And he was like, and he laughed and he said, yeah, I'm pretty busy running the clubs that I've already got going on. I don't think I could start another one. And so it was quite funny. But then I got to witness his interaction with Van Gaal, and it was clearly the first time they'd seen each other, maybe since even the interview process. Yeah. And it was a little bit awkward. But then I missed my chance. I saw Giggs like leaving, so because the team was finished training. So then I'm sprinting up to try to get into, and we get into the sort of sports hall at American, and Wayne Rooney is playing basketball with Johnny Evans and Darren Fletcher, and I'm like. And it's just one of those natural things. Again, instead of feeling awkward, I just you do the universal sign of pass me the ball. So then they pass me the ball. So now I'm playing basketball with these boys, and I'm just going, this is mental. And then got to watch them. Then again, they all left, and we locked up the training room and stuff. And then the next day, that was the first time I got to meet Giggs. And I have a picture. I look like I'm back to being a 10-year-old kid again. And spoke to Johnny Evans for a long time just about the whole, obviously, Northern Ireland connection, and just to get it was a great experience, and just a random Sunday night in DC, you know. So yeah.
Fantastic! What a story.